scrutinize what I've written, and I get the same opportunity. It's a two-way street here at this table. But nonetheless, there is really a myriad of expertise at this table, and that's really why everybody is here. But I have, as you can see on the wall behind me, I've identified about 9 different groups. And I've handed out a spreadsheet, and if you would be so kind to follow it first. Based on the information that you submitted to me, I have sort of given you what I'm going to call a primary role in this group. You're either attached to a MIPS, a large center, a coalition, a small center, grow, legal, patients, medical, or government. And government's broken down into subgroups. There are a number of issues that we're going to have to look to in the future. And I have also given you additional rules needed, a separate page, where I've identified several of them myself. And some of these are very key issues to this industry. Some of these are licensing, how to notify state licensing authorities when employees depart, which is a statutory requirement under 310. That first statute is the first number is the statutory provision that requires this. 310.4, new employees report needed. Manager registration, a process for that. Then we're going to get into some of the technical things. Labeling. Labeling will probably affect everybody in this room. But I also see this more as a health issue as well. And it's a critical component for the health department. They should have a voice in this. MIPS contract requirements, the 70-30 rule. These are huge issues. And I asked everybody to sit at the table because of your willingness to go out and work with the industry itself. And you all represent a specific segment in the industry. So what I would like to do is to have you break up into your groups. And they're listed A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so forth. And I would like you to engage in discussion amongst yourselves. And I've given you just sort of a starting point of things that you think we need to address and we haven't from a regulatory standpoint. But this is the industry's chance to deal with some of these. The 70-30 issue, the contractual issues. There's so many things that need to be addressed. But within each of these groups, I'm going to ask for a spokesperson when it's all said and done. And I want you to spend about a half hour together and talk. I'm going to come around and meet with each of the groups just to kind of prod you along in the right direction. But the most critical part of this is that we have to have a statutory authority to do anything. We cannot change 1284, and that's the peril to doing this. We don't all agree with what's in 1284, I get that, but we can't change those things. We can only clarify the existing laws unless there's a specific statute that directs us to promulgate a rule. And there are 20 in the front of the book that we can deal with, all right? And as you read 1284 or have read, I want you to look at the things that you think need to be clarified. But I would ask you to break up into your groups and engage in that discussion amongst yourself. The first name under the heading, I'm going to ask to be the facilitator for each of the groups. So, Greg, you drew the short straw for MIPS. Nora, you got it for large centers. Betty for coalition. Nick, if you wouldn't mind doing the small centers. Brian for grows. Well, Bob Corey is gone, so Bob, you get to meet by yourself. I'm going to talk to you. Very lonely. Patients, Brian Vicente, if you wouldn't mind. Dr. Bregman, the medical side, and then the government, we'll get together, the government people, and engage in discussion as well. But I want you to spend about a half hour amongst yourselves. Everybody's had an opportunity to read 1284 first, but I want you to put some ideas on paper, the things that you think need to be addressed, and things that should probably be generated from your specific segment of the industry. And we're going to have some crossover here. I'll get to you in a second.
Oh, I would unbelievable.
Okay, we're going to have to we're going to have some crossover issues. The 70-30 rule, for example, that really affects centers, but it also is a grow issue. The 6 plants, 2 ounces per patient, it affects everybody in this room. How are we going to reconcile that? So give it some thought, and then we'll get back together at, let's say 2:15. We'll get back together. I'm going to ask you for some of your thoughts, and we're going to put it up here on the board and talk about them. Okay, before we break, questions?
My quick question / comment was, Tom, the gentleman who was sitting here before, was here when we got to talking earlier, told me he was here for all the safety standard issues. and he indicated pretty clearly to me that he wanted to be a part of the MIPS discussion.
Sure.
And I think it would be great